A pastor of a big church one day was trying to get his members' attention because they were always talking during his sermon. So one day he came up with this idea that when he would say a word and slam his hands down on the podium, that someone would stand up and sing the first thing that came to their mind. And the preacher began his sermon and said, "River." And a young man stood up and said, "We should gather at the river." And the preacher continued on and gave grace. And a woman stood up and sang Amazing Grace. And he continued on with his sermon and said the word sex. And an elderly lady stood up in the church and said, "Precious memories, how they linger." Well, good morning, everyone. I'm your Honorable Minister Demeatrus Senior, M.A. And I will be bringing you the message today. But before I get into the message today, I'd just like to say to those of you who may be following the messages or sermons that I deliver via YouTube, I'd just like to say that my ministry was created and designed for those of you out there that are just spiritual in nature. Those of you that may have been disconnected from God at some point in your life because of something or tragedy event that happened in your life. You know, I found throughout my ministry and my years of being in the ministry, which is 29 plus years, that it is more difficult to preach to those that call themselves Christians, or those that feel that all they need is the little black book. That the little black book holds all the answers to their problems. Which that may be true for some, but not all. So my ministry was designed just for those that are spiritual, to put them in a different type of relationship that not only lines up with God, but lines the whole body up with God, and not the head weaving and bobbing like that little black book have them doing. Today's message is titled, I'd like to welcome you to the Hour of Truth Ministry, Speaking Candidly. Now, the message for today is titled, Living in a Closet. A little thing, see, this message today is a little dear to me. It's not so much as me living in a closet as I speak, but it's difficult for me to hold on to someone else's closet secrets because of personal shame, because of a personal commitment, and because of those things that came out of that personal commitment, out of shame, guilt, remorse, that were beyond my control or were in my control but got out of control. So for me, it was best to hide the truth, to cover it up, than to let it be known. But see, those of you that know me today, or have come to know me, my family, my friends, and my enemy, well, here's the thing. I'm tired of lying for you. I'm tired of hiding your secrets. I'm tired of telling the half-truths and not the whole truths. And so not only today would I somewhat tell on myself, but I'm going to tell them others. Call me a trick. Call me whatever you want to call me. But the difference between me and you, I do it from a different perspective. It's not in your face, so to speak. But what I do today is called the new wave of churches. One that is not bent on man deities, looking like God deities or Jesus deities, but one that is truly, truly from God himself. You see, the closet narrative sets up an explicit dualism between people being in or being out. Those who are in are often stigmatized as living false, unhappy lives. Many heterosexual people are living in the closet with either them being in a bisexual relationship, but they are currently in a heterosexual relationship, such as I being heterosexual, but my mate being bisexual. But get this, they are sneaking around, or that other mate that is bisexual is sneaking around with their bisexual partners or gay partner, because society says that it is wrong for two women or two men to have sexual relationship out of lust. Out of lust. Now, it's difficult for me to be in such a relationship with someone who is afraid to tell their friends and family in the world that they are gay and are living a double lifestyle as being strictly heterosexual, and one who talks against the very people they are associated with because no one needs to know. See, I know personally how hard it is for me to be with this woman that is in love with another woman, but cohabitates with me. And I know personally that she doesn't love me the way that I love her, because she's in love with another woman. State and federal laws makes her life harder, if not difficult, to be happy, to be free with the woman that she loves the most. Yes, a beautiful child came out of this upside down, ridiculous relationship. And so protecting the secret and hiding the secret was more important to me than exposing the truth, because it was about my image. What will people say? How would they treat me? But the truth of the matter, people are going to treat you the way they want to treat you anyway. And the truth of the matter, a lot of people already knew. They just didn't know if I knew. But I'm okay with that. But we're going to get on back to this message. It takes a strong but understanding man to tell the secrets of his mate. But I knew from the time I met her that we had similar interests, but not in women, which came later when she mentioned that she had an exotic taste for something that I could not provide sexually. Being a man of God, believing that all people had a possibility to change when the opportunity is great, they may decide to continue their healthy or unhealthy relationship. But for me, the choice had already been made. And out of that choice came a healthy child. That healthy child I knew I had to protect. I knew I had to use all the tools in my toolbox to repeat, to stop this lusting mentality of the other parent from being instilled in the love of my heart. But there's only so much that I can do personally. I have to rely on God to do the rest. Now, all roads that lead out were closed to this idea or concept at some point. I knew that my life would be different from that moment forward after I made my choice. And I understood the risk and the damage to my personal relationship with God and others. I understood them risks. But I was more willing and bold to take on them risks. And I'm still taking on them risks. I understood the fight that lied ahead. By me not telling the truth about my circumstances and conditions. Because to me, my life was perfect in the eyes of the beholder. Some time ago, during my curiosity years of adolescence, I decided to pursue a gay woman, young woman, and use all the tools at my disposal until I reached my goal. It was a life-changing experience for me, as well as for her. Now soon after our encounter, she settled down and got married to a man who was in pursuit of her and also a provider. No one else knew about my imperfection. I have tried many things in my life, willingly or unwillingly. And I have realized that what did not kill me certainly made me stronger. To tackle these similar issues when they have crossed my path once again. I am not, let me make myself clear, I am not advocating for same-sex marriages, nor am I in favor of them, which I have been known to do in the past, because I've been pacifying those that claim to love me, but only attach themselves to me because they knew that I can do something that they couldn't do, was to promote their message to a larger audience and some people in Washington, some people around the world, because of my closet secrets that I was keeping. So it made more sense to cling on a little hope. But the truth of the matter was that I was seeking redemption for those that are present in the past who have been sexually abused, raped, tortured by their perpetrators. That was always my purpose and will always be my purpose. Let the record reflect that. However, I am a man of God who has experience, knowledge, and expertise on the subject of living in a closet. You see, during my young adolescent years, once again, I had began to hang out with the wrong crowd. The ones that we call the Judases and the Peters. The ones that we call the Hams and the Ham's lot daughters type of crowds. They began to open up a new window, but old window of things not taught at home. as being my new family and moral values. You see, I began drinking hard and soft liquor, smoking marijuana, and hanging out in the early hours of the morning. Basically, I was in the den of Satan, being led astray, being young, dumb, and confused, to think that the streets and the gangs love me more than my family. But one by one, my street family, they either died or end up in the criminal system or 6 feet under. But if it had not been for the love of my mother, who understood the risk involved, and she was not willing to lose the battle, so she stepped in and intervened on behalf of her child. That very love shown by a mother swept the child up and into a safety zone from the madness of the big city life. Gone astray and lacked family and moral values and the guidance necessary to upbring a child. You see, I lost a lot of friends and enemies before I reached the age of 18. Growing up in a war zone and fighting friendly and enemy fire each and every day of my life, even to this day. You see, I fought through the post-traumatic stress syndrome, ADHD, mental illness, psychological trauma, and personal setbacks. The doctor suggested to my mother that it would be best to institutionalize me as part of their diagnosis and treatment options. You see, but the love of a mother for her son or her child or her daughter knew that their child could overcome all odds because they'd done it before. And she closed the chapter or the book on that idea. But Satan, he never gave up trying to recruit this child or this children back into his army. You see, me personally, he used the people that were close to me, people that I thought would protect me at all costs, even if it meant giving up their own lives. Let the truth be told that a close friend of mine used a day rate drug to spike my alcohol drinks or beverages, and also laced my cigarettes in a quest to sexually abuse me as I slept through the night at his home. I never knew that this so-called family friend was really sexually abusing me because I was really under the influence of alcohol daily and never really noticed any signs and symptoms of the abuse. This nightmare came to a tragic end one day after I was celebrating my senior year in high school with a party at my mother's home. That some light was shed on this demonic behavior. You see, after that night, I began to hear voices and having real bad hallucinations that caused me to have some sleep deprivations. that I had to be hospitalized several times for. See, one day, out of guilt or shame, my perpetrator, who victimized me, admitted to my mother that he had done something to me, but never really told exactly what he had did months prior to him losing his life. Not at my hands, but at the hands of another. Not known to me or others. To this day. It was a sad year because he died in September of this tragic year, and my oldest and dearest sister the next following year in July, which compounded my issues that I was suffering from to an all-time high. You see, after those tragic losses, I was in and out of county and state hospitals, trying to overcome the toxins that were causing so much pain. The toxins were unknown to doctors who worked feverishly to find solutions and cures to the problems by prescribing different psychotropic medications.